You've been sitting in that classroom for 40 minutes. The teacher just finished explaining something you didn't understand at all, and your hand never went up, not once. You knew the answer wasn't clicking. You felt the confusion sitting in your chest like a rock, but you also felt something else, that specific, suffocating fear of what happens when you raise your hand and everyone turns to look at you. So you just wrote down whatever was on the board, nodded like you got it, and hoped the exam wouldn't destroy you. That moment right there, that's not laziness. That's not stupidity. That's something that's been slowly built inside you, brick by brick, year after year. And tonight, we're going to talk about what it actually is and why it's eating your future alive without you even noticing. Picture your average Tuesday. You wake up already behind. Your phone tells you someone posted their SAT score of 1540. You've got a practice test this weekend and you're barely hitting 1200. You walk into first period and the teacher starts reviewing something from last week that you never fully got. You pull out your notebook, you look around. Everyone else looks fine. Everyone else looks like they understand. You tell yourself you'll just figure it out later. Look it up on YouTube, ask a friend maybe. You never do. You move on. And that gap, that tiny little gap in your understanding, it gets buried under new material and new pressure and new anxiety until one day you're sitting in front of a test with questions you can't answer and you genuinely don't know how you got here. That's how it happens, slowly, then all at once. And the thing nobody tells you, the thing adults never say out loud, is that the silence that kept you in that seat, it wasn't your fault alone. It was built by years of very specific psychological experiences that conditioned you to stay quiet. Let's talk about what those actually are. The first one is called social evaluation anxiety, and it hits American students harder than most people realize. From the time you were a little kid in elementary school, you were conditioned to perform. Raise your hand only if you know the answer. Don't say something dumb. Don't be the kid everyone laughs at. You weren't just learning math or history. You were learning a social code. That code says, visible confusion is weakness. Questions are admissions of failure. And the American classroom, with its competitive GPA culture and its ranking systems and its honor rolls, it doesn't just fail to correct that message, it amplifies it. So by the time you're in high school or college, your brain has run thousands of simulations. Every single time, asking a question in public feels like gambling your social reputation on a hand you're not sure about. So you fold every time, and you call it being fine. The second thing happening inside you is something psychologists call imposter syndrome, and it is absolutely running your life if you go to a competitive high school or university. You look around at your classmates and you see confidence. You see kids who seem like they were born understanding calculus, like they walked out of the womb knowing how to write a thesis. What you don't see is what's happening inside their heads. You don't see that half of them are doing the exact same thing you are, performing, understanding, while silently drowning. But your brain doesn't register that. Your brain takes the surface information and builds a story. Everyone else belongs here. I'm the one who snuck in. And if I ask a question, they'll finally figure that out. So you protect the performance. You guard the illusion. You stay quiet. And you walk out of every class a little more convinced that you're not as smart as the people around you, even though the only evidence you have is your own silence, the same silence that fear built. The third force is something you might not expect: shame. Not guilt, not embarrassment, shame. And there's a real difference. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am something wrong. And the American education system, often without meaning to, teaches shame around not knowing. When you watch someone get called on and stumble and the room goes uncomfortable, you file that away. When a teacher sighs before explaining something again, you file that away. When your parents ask why you didn't get the grade and the question underneath the question is, "What's wrong with you?" you file that away. You build this internal belief that your confusion is a character flaw, that needing help means you're defective, and you will do almost anything to protect yourself from having that belief confirmed out loud. So you protect it by staying silent, by nodding, by performing a competence you don't feel, and you wear yourself out doing it every single day. The fourth thing, and this one is maybe the quietest and the most damaging, is learned helplessness. It sounds dramatic. It isn't. It just means that at some point you stopped believing that asking would actually help. Maybe you asked once and the explanation didn't make sense. Maybe you went to office hours and left more confused than when you arrived. Maybe you texted a friend who said, "Just Google it." And slowly, quietly, your brain learned a lesson. Effort doesn't produce results. Asking doesn't fix the confusion. So why bother? Why sit in the vulnerability of admitting you don't understand if the outcome is going to be the same? And you go numb to the whole thing. You stop even registering confusion as something to solve. You just mark it as another thing you don't get and move on. And your GPA starts to reflect a story your brain has been writing for years. Here's what I want you to feel for a second. I want you to really sit with this. You are probably one of the most capable, perceptive people in your class. The fact that you're here, watching this, thinking about this stuff, that already tells me something. You feel things deeply. You notice things others walk past. You have a level of self-awareness that most adults never develop. But that same sensitivity that makes you so perceptive, it's also what makes the classroom feel like a minefield. Because you can feel every eye in the room. You can feel the energy shift when someone asks a question the teacher finds redundant. You can feel the social cost of visibility in a way that other people somehow seem immune to. And you've been treating that sensitivity like a flaw for years. You've been calling it overthinking. You've been calling it being too in your head. But it's not a flaw. It's a feature that got pointed in the wrong direction, and nobody told you how to aim it somewhere useful. That rock in your chest, the one that sits there during every class you don't understand, that's not weakness. That's the weight of someone who cares deeply about their future, carrying it completely alone. And you've been doing that for so long, it feels normal. It's not normal. You just got used to the weight. Here's what's actually true, even if you don't believe it yet. Every question you've been too afraid to ask still exists. It's still sitting there, unanswered, underneath everything you've learned since. And the longer it stays there, the more it costs you. In confusion, in grades, in the low-grade anxiety that follows you into every exam, every paper, every semester. The fear of asking one question has a compounding interest rate. It gets more expensive the longer you wait. But here's the other thing that's true. You can interrupt that pattern. Not with a personality transplant, not with a motivational speech that evaporates by morning. You can interrupt it with one small act of deliberate discomfort. One question. In office hours, not in front of the class if that's too much. In an email, in a tutoring session, somewhere to someone about something you genuinely don't understand. Not because it'll be comfortable, it won't be, but because every time you ask a question and the world doesn't end, your brain gets updated data, and that updated data slowly starts to rewrite the story that fear has been telling you for years. You were never the student who didn't get it. You were the student who got taught that not getting it was something to hide. That's a different problem, and it has a different solution. Start there.